few more that may be coming in a little later, but it is 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'm David Spencer. I'm the director of the Chester County Virtual Academy. So that guy that you call real angry to on the phone, this is what he looks like. I try to talk you down most of the time, and most of the time we're successful. Miss Wilson and I. This is Miss Wilson here, who usually gets you before I do. And please keep calling. You know, that's the only way that we know how successful we're being right now. You know, whatever problems you face, please call and let us know. First thing we're going to talk about are counseling services that our students can still receive from their home school. And here with us tonight is Miss Hughes from the Chester Park School of Inquiry and Miss Wilson from Louisville Middle School.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
I am, like I said, Ms. Hughes, and I am at Chester Park School of Inquiry. We just kind of wanted to give parents a toolkit. You already might be using some of these things. Maybe you didn't think of it this way, or maybe it's something that you can put in place to do in the future or going forward. Also, this is an infographic, so we're going to share it, and it should be on the district web page. And if you click on the images or the underlined words, they will take you to different websites for additional information. The first thing that we're going to talk about is creating a virtual learning space. Actually, I'm going to scoot out here so I'm not stuck in the corner and you can navigate when we switch. Oops, sorry. When you think about creating a virtual learning space, you want to pick a quiet, the most quiet spot in the house that's well lit. Try to sit them at a table that's upright. Sometimes I know kids get really comfortable at home because they're in a different environment and they're laying across the bed or they're lounging on a couch. But if you put them at a table, even if it's the kitchen table, just somewhere where they can sit up straight and, you know, not be as laid back. Also, you want to make sure it's in an area in the house that doesn't have a lot of traffic, that the television isn't on, a lot of noise. Even if you want to purchase earbuds or headphones, that's going to drown out some of the background noise to keep them focused. Also, when you think about your learning space at home, also think about places where, you know, they're going to have enough room to do their work. If they're using manipulatives, they need a space for their laptops. Also, charge your laptops at night, especially if they're hybrid. And the information I'm sharing is not just for virtual school students, but it's also for hybrid students because they spend 3 days a week at home, so they need an e-learning space as well. Also, make sure that they're in proper attire when they're attending classes online. Make sure it's appropriate for, if they were at school in person. Also, anybody that may be visible in the background, that they're also appropriately or presentably dressed. Make sure that they also eat breakfast before class starts, not during class. And speaking of that, you want to create a schedule, and that's the next thing. Establish a daily routine. Even if they're virtual or if they are hybrid, the days that they're at home, they still need to have a routine. And you guys can work on that together with your virtual school teacher, kind of base it off how that day looks, and that looks different in each classroom or with each teacher. Remember that your time management is going to be vital, and school is 5 days a week, whether you're virtual or if you're hybrid. I know I've been getting a lot of feedback, and the teachers told me to really stress that when you are a hybrid student and you're at home those 3 days, you still have work to do those 3 days, and it needs to be completed because that ties to your attendance, and of course your attendance affects your grades. So on the days that you're not at school and you're at home, you still have work to do. If you're in virtual school, you still have work to do every single day. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. When you think of your daily schedule, create a wake-up time. It may not be as early as if you're going to school face-to-face, but get up, get dressed, eat your breakfast, schedule breaks. Don't forget to schedule your lunch time. Schedule time just to move around, because even with virtual kids, if you're having more screen time, you still want to be mobile and you still want to move around. Also, they're going to have lots of usernames and passwords. Make sure you're keeping those in one location, like in a notebook, specifically for usernames and passwords, because some websites that they visit, the teacher doesn't have access to that information. So if they forget their usernames and passwords, the teacher won't be able to assist them. And the next section is stay social while virtual.
Okay, I'm gonna take that part. I am Ms. Wilson. I'm the school counselor at Louisville Middle School. And when we say stay social while virtual, we mean connect with the teachers. Even though those teachers are maybe assigned, your child may have a teacher at another school, stay connected with that teacher. Email them. If you can't reach that teacher, reach out to your child's school counselor, because that hasn't changed. Your child still has the same school counselor. So reach out to your counselor. If you can't get in touch with the teacher, the counselor, we may get in touch with the teacher. If we can't answer a question, trust and believe, we're going to get on that phone and we're going to call Mr. Spencer or anybody, Ms. Wilson, anybody to try to get the information or get the to answer your question. Know that we are just as frustrated as you all are. I hate that we can't answer some of the questions. I hate saying, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that question. I hate saying it. So if you contact your counselor, just know that they're getting on that. They're going to work with you all and try to get those answers for you. Make sure your child is logging on. Make sure your child knows their teacher. Make sure your child is active in the classroom or signing up logging in when they're supposed to, because it's very important that they see familiar faces. Like it kind of eases the stress when you see your other classmates in the same class with you. Even though like some of my kids, they already told me, oh my God, I got so many kids from this school. I don't see any of my peers in the class. I'm like, it's okay, they're coming, okay? Maintain good emotional health. This is a stressful time, again, stressful time. Everybody is stressed. So it's very important that you do self-care. Make sure your child is getting self-care. Your counselors, we're going into the classrooms. We're setting up links so the virtual students can sign up and receive services from us. If there's anything that you may need, reach out to your counselor. If you notice that your child is having anxiety, more anxiety, reach out. It's things that we can do. Even though they're virtual, it's stuff that we can do. Parent role. It's very important that you know your child's schedule. That is so important. I have had several parents call me and it's like, I don't understand my child's schedule. Call, reach out to that home school so you can get an understanding of that schedule. Know when the child is supposed to log in. Keep track of the sites that the child may be going on. If you have a Kajit, it's very important that you monitor those sites, because your child may get on Facebook or some other website. Make sure that everything is geared towards learning, especially if you have the Kajit, because the Kajit you will lose, bandwidth or something, data, something like that. I don't know the correct name. But yeah, so it's very important that you monitor that, because you'll lose the bandwidth when it's time for the child to actually get online. Okay. I think that's it. Do you have any questions for us?
The data runs out before they complete the class. So they don't have, when that time to do everything else, because before you complete the class, most of the time it's more than 30 minutes before we went off. So kind of squeezing up, so you can't, the data runs out before the class.
Okay. Mr. Spencer.
And we'll let Mr. Spencer address that question. I did want to touch on a couple of things before we turn it back over. As far as hybrid students, make sure on days that they carry their meals home, they're using bags. Try to recycle those bags, especially if they have handles. Stick it back in the book bag so they'll have something secure to carry their meals in. Also, I've noticed with older students, when they're typing, if your child has downtime per se, or during their leisure time, try to research some free typing courses online so that they get practice on how to properly type and use their home keys and things, because that's going to save them time in the long run. I've noticed that, you know, they're taking longer to complete assignments because they're picking on keys, so that's another thing. And I believe that's the only thing that I wanted to touch on. But I hope that there's something that we shared tonight that you can take back home and use. If you've already been using it, keep it up. And again, if you ever need any help from your homeschool counselors, just reach out to us and we will try to assist you. Thank you.
And if you're from the Louisville area, I'm serving as the Louisville counselor at the elementary too, while Dr. McGowan is out. So you can contact me at the middle school if you need.
Gotcha. Thank you very much, ladies. And now that you have talked about everything I was going to talk about, we'll move on. But touching on the Khajiit issue, we know it's an issue. I was unaware at the beginning of the year that there was a data limit on our Khajiits. So what Ms. Hughes and Ms. Wilson brought up is exceptionally important, and just making sure that they are not being used for anything other than educational purposes. If you're still having issues with it, you can take it back to your home school, get IT to check it out to make sure it's working properly, because there should be enough in there to be able to make it through most of what we're asking you to do. If not, then please be in touch with your child's teachers. Please be in touch with me at our office so we can communicate and make sure that assignments are being passed along. And most of our teachers are already, and we're definitely going to transition to it, which we'll touch on here in a little bit, pre-recording lessons. So those will be available for download on their Microsoft team or on their teacher page. All right, so Virtual Academy 101, just a time for us to kind of touch on a few things about our program that I've had a lot of questions about. Some things to kind of help us transition and adjust a little bit better. You know, what are our program goals? What are our expectations, not just for our students, but what should your expectations be of our teachers, and what should our expectations be of you as parents in a virtual learning setting? Also, how does our program work, and what software programs are we going to be using? So first, our program goals. Number one is to provide a safe learning environment for our students. You know, that's why a lot of our students are with us right now. Our parents did not think that coming to school during this pandemic was a safe environment for their students, so they chose the virtual environment. We want to allow each student the opportunity to meet their maximum potential. Students with us, K through 5, they're getting the same curriculum as in the regular classroom. Our teachers are presenting it a little bit differently, but it's going to be the same curriculum. So we're going to hold them to those same expectations that our teachers had when they were in the regular classroom. And also we want to create partnerships. Partnerships with students, partnerships with parents, and with our community in order to create pathways to student success. So the communication, I've told our teachers, we need to be over-communicating. We need to be emailing, we need to be calling, we need to be touching base with parents and students as much as possible. And I know I've gotten some calls that, you know, maybe some parents don't feel like they're being communicated with enough, and we're working on that. It's gonna be like drinking out of the fire hose here pretty soon. So we're gonna be getting those communications out. Our expectations. So what should you expect from the teacher? You should expect daily class meetings, particularly for your core content classes. They can be whole group, they can be small group, and they could be pre-recorded. If they are pre-recorded and the student has a time in their schedule where they should watch that videoed lesson, there will also be a small group session to accompany that. Communication. Now, during office hours, our teachers are not going to call you at 9 o'clock at night. But I also would expect you to give them the same courtesy and not call them at 9 o'clock at night. Now, emails, you know, some of our teachers, I will say this, this is the hardest working group of teachers that I have been able to be associated with. And part of that is this is a new concept for all of us. Part of it is we're dealing with new softwares and trying to learn those, and we're doing all the communicating that we can. Sometimes our teachers work into the wee hours of the morning. So a meeting may get scheduled and you may get that ding on your cell phone. I apologize for that. We'll try to work a little bit better, a little bit smarter and not harder as we advance into the future. But we're not going to call you late in the evening. If you email us, expect that reply the next morning. You know, don't think if you email, now I'm bad about it. If you email me at 10 o'clock at night, I'm probably going to reply. But I don't expect that from our teachers. They have families, they have children of their own. I know I go home in the evenings, and as soon as I get home, I'm doing virtual schoolwork because that's what my 2 kids are doing. So I'm a 4th grader and a 6th grader as soon as I get home. The communication during our office hours could be email, could be remind, could be phone calls. Call our office. I tell every parent that I talk to, I don't know if there's a problem until you let me know there's a problem. We can't fix it until we know something's broken. We expect support from our teachers. We need to identify students that need academic support. So if your student is struggling or not completing assignments, your expectation should be that that teacher is going to reach out to you to schedule extra time. To schedule time for your student to get caught up and get the things that they need. And you should also expect our teachers to expect the most out of your child. Accountability, we're going to hold our students accountable. We're going to require them to complete the assignments. We're not just going to let it go. It's in their best interest to complete it. It's in our best interest for them to complete it because they're our future. We want them to be as educated as possible. Our expectations for students, and Ms. Wilson and Ms. Hughes sit on a lot of these, but number 1, daily attendance. We need to be on time and in attendance every day, both mentally and physically. That mental part is probably the most important because we have a lot of students who, they may log into class, but then they want to turn that camera off so we can't exactly see where they're going or what they're doing, but they're logged in. We have a lot of students who may, lay down on the bed or lay out on the couch or lay in the floor and try to do their class. That's not the best learning environment. We need them to be prepared both mentally and physically every single day for class. We need their effort. We need them completing some assignments and giving their best effort. I know a lot of people went into virtual education with the thought it was going to be the same thing we did in March. That's not what we're here to do. In March, we didn't have time to plan. It was an emergency situation. School was shut down by the state of South Carolina, and we handed out packets. Well, now we're building curriculum. We're using technology to be able to teach your student in the environment that you thought would be best for them. We also need communication from students. A lot of times that's hard. It's hard for a 5th grader to go to an adult and say, I need help. That's hard for a high school student as well. But you need to talk with your students so that they are comfortable enough with their teacher to be able to send that email or be able to make that phone call to my office and say, hey, I need some help with math. Can you set that up for me? Absolutely, I can. And our students need to have high expectations. Not just for our teachers, but they need to have high expectations of themselves. And they need to know, hey, this is school. The virtual academy is my school right now, and I need to be giving it the best effort I possibly can. Parent expectations. Number 1, internet access. Students must have reliable internet service to be a successful virtual student. That was in all the paperwork and all the advertising up front. These students need internet access to be successful virtually. And I know that the Kajeets work sometimes they don't. You really need to consider contacting someone to set up internet services and Wi-Fi in your home. As Ms. Wilson and Ms. Hughes pointed out, you need a learning space inside your home. Somewhere quiet where a student can focus on school and are not distracted by 10,000 other things. If there are other students in the house, it would probably be a good idea to separate them. I know at my house, we've got one working in one room and one works in the other room. Because if not, they're just going to be picking back and forth the whole time. Communication, again. Contact the teachers. Contact the administration. And we need to build our partnership to ensure that students are completing assignments. You as parents need to be checking behind them daily to make sure that they're completing the assignments they need to do. We're going to contact you. But sometimes we may not contact you till the end of the week. You need to make sure that day my student has completed everything they're supposed to do. And you need to inform our office staff and our teachers of any issues. I know we had a deal the other day when the remnants of the hurricane came through and there was a lot of rain and some power outages and internet outages. Contact our office and let us know those type of things. We'll work with you. So how does our program work? So what it looks like now, and this is kind of a snapshot of our normal classroom schedules. So most classrooms have a morning meeting. That's where we take attendance, we have an activity, maybe a read aloud, something along those lines. Then we'll have ELA time, could be math time, but ELA time where there's a whole class lesson and small group time. Then we have our math, whole class lesson, small group time. There's time for science and social studies, and there's related arts. Related arts gives you an opportunity to have a little flexibility in your schedule. Our goal is not for your student to sit in front of a computer from 8 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's not a healthy scenario for anyone. So when they have this opportunity for a little flexibility in their schedule, they could do their PE work any time of the day. They can do their music any time of the day. So use that flexibility. Allow your students to have playtime. That's important for young students, especially K through 3. Allow them to have that playtime during the day. Let them have recess. Get them a good lunch, have a little recess, maybe even nap time if need be for those young students. But allow the flexibility to work, because no, your student is not going to be sitting in front of the computer from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So what are we going to turn into as we advance and we keep building on what we've already started? Number one, Calvert Learning is going to come into play. That's going to be a software system that drives our curriculum. Once that happens, that software will guide the focus of our teachers' daily instruction. More of our lessons are going to be pre-recorded. I appreciate pre-recorded lessons because it allows me to go back with my students and re-watch anything that they may have missed. If they didn't take good notes the first time, or I'm not satisfied as a parent with what they're telling me they learned, we can go back and watch it again. And if I don't think they're paying attention, I can rewind and we can watch it again. And that also takes less bandwidth on your internet services. There'll also be small group one-on-one time and more flexibility in your daily schedule. So as we get into Calvert and we really start using that curriculum, there's going to be even more flexibility with things you can do with your child during the day. Software programs that we use, Office 365, that's our email account. Every student has one. From kindergarten through 12th grade, every student in Chester County School District has an Office 365 account. Microsoft Teams is a piece of Office 365. Microsoft Teams, I'm sure most of you are aware of now, if not used to by now, is where we do our class meetings, where our class materials are posted, where teachers post videos, where they put files and assignments and all those different type of things. We also use Zoom. If there's an emergency and something has happened with our software or there's issues with Microsoft Teams, we may use Zoom from time to time. Zoom is not near as secure as Microsoft Teams, but it does give us an option if need be. I know this morning our teachers came in and it was like, wow, I don't have the capability to start a meeting in Microsoft Teams anymore, so we need to use Zoom. So a lot of our teachers jumped on Zoom real quick and still were able to have their class session. We also have Reading Eggs, Math Seeds, iExcel, Vocabulary, Study Island, Learning.com, and Calvert Learning. And there's definitely some that I'm leaving out, but those are just a few of the software programs that Chester County offers our students to use. So now let's talk a little bit about Office 365, and I'm going to jump out of this presentation so that I can pull up Office 365 for us and we can kind of take a look. Now, there's multiple ways to get to the point of logging in. Most of the time on our student laptops, there is the option to click on the icon on your desktop, but you see my desktop, it's hard to find that icon. So I just come down to Google Chrome, pull up a new window and just type in Office 365. It takes me straight to the website. I'm already logged in, so it shoots me straight in. What it'll look like if you're not already logged in is it'll ask you for your email address, and then it'll ask you for your password, which are the exact same things that you use to log into your computer. Now, once I get to Office 365, I have been calling this lately the square made out of dots, but the more common name is the waffle. That waffle is very important because when I click on it, it shows me all the apps that are inside Office 365. Outlook is my email. I have Word, I have Excel, I have PowerPoint. OneDrive is very important. We'll touch on that here shortly. And then there's also Microsoft Teams. So right now, I'm just going to click on my email. And this is what it looks like inside my email right now. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that in case there's any sensitive information. But at the same time, that's exactly what your child's email will look like. And one thing to keep in mind, you need to know how to log in to your child's email account. Our teachers have email groups set up for both parents and students. So those emails are going to both places. If you ever think you're missing something as a parent, and it's like, man, I think I missed something, check your child's email. Because in their email, the one thing that they'll get that you won't is anything coming from Microsoft Teams. So when those meetings are set up by the teacher, a reminder email is sent out. I know that because I'm a part of every team that our teachers have set up. So I get continuous email reminders of meetings going on constantly. So go in that email and you will see the meeting reminders in your child's email. Microsoft Teams is where we do, like we said earlier, we have our class meetings, we have our class activities, we have our posts. So these are all the teams that I am a part of. Now, in your child's Microsoft Team account, when you go to Microsoft Teams, and I'm going to go back to the waffle, and I'm going to click on Teams. It has a T on it, it says Teams right next to it. I click it, it comes up. Your child will have one for each class that they're in. Our high school students will have 4. Our elementary students have 1 or 2. They'll have one for their actual classroom and one for PE or music. So I'm going to go inside. This is the one that I created for our Chester County. I won't click on that because sometimes they say mean things about me on that chat session. I'm going to go into let's go. I guess I should just pick one.
You can go into my account.
Let's go to Mr. Koo. So here is Mr. Koo's Microsoft Team page, and every one of his students that are in his homeroom are a member of this page. So in his, this is the normal, the general page, I guess you would say, where people can post. He can start a new conversation, he can post assignments. Right now he has a reminder for a meeting that was today. You can scroll back through, here's some assignments that he has posted. Videos, I can go into files for Mr. Koo and see all the types of stuff that he has posted for his classroom. Class materials, some old stuff, some new stuff, and also he has channels on the left side. So each one of these channels is the place where I go for that subject area. So if we're doing ELA, I'm going to the ELA channel. You can see some students have posted. There's going to be some things going on in here. I can post files just for ELA. We can post just for ELA. We can go to math and we have the same type thing. Now, he also has the channels for his breakout groups. So when he breaks his students into small groups, this is where those meetings take place. Now, when Mr. Koo schedules a meeting, there's one important thing missing here. When I go in as a student and he has scheduled a meeting, there will be a button that says join. When I'm ready to join that meeting, I just click that button and I go in. Mr. Koo will have a waiting room set up and he'll click the button and allow all his students to come into his session. Now, Mr. Koo is also one of our teachers that has videoed or pre-recorded his lessons. Mr. Koo, will you come show us how to get to one of your pre-recorded lessons?
Yeah, you're in the general channel, so click on files, class materials, Koo week of 9/21. Yep, there it is. Monday or Tuesday, whichever one you want.
Good. Let's look at Monday, back in time. So we have an ELA lesson and a social studies lesson that he has pre-recorded. So I can just click on it. I can download it to my computer if I want, so I'll have it there. I can just watch it and let it stream from where it's at right now. And there is the wonderful Mr. Koo. So I have those options with my videos. He will share his screen, just like he's writing on a whiteboard going through his lesson, and you'll have access to that anytime you want it. So if let's say I miss school on Monday, I have a doctor's appointment or I'm sick and I don't get to go to class, I haven't done my assignments, I can go back into his folders, pull up the video, have class, and then be able to complete the assignments. So that's Microsoft Teams and Office 365. I do also want to introduce you to a new piece of software that we're going to be using in the very near future. Once we have all our students rostered and ready to go, we will be moving into Calvert Learning. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Davies and Ms. Jones to walk us through an example of Calvert Learning.
Do it.
Sure.
I'm not used to using a mic. I usually use my teacher voice.
Alright, so I'm going to sign out of this and go back in. So this is the login page for Calvert.
It's not showing up here.
No, is it not? Oh, we have the blue spinny wheel again.
And this is just proof that we are struggling with technology also. So it's all a learning curve. So we appreciate all the patience you all have been giving us. I'm going to be doing it.
So while that's coming up, Calvert is what we were talking about earlier for our K through 5 curriculum that's going to be guiding us as we move forward in the school year. And I will give you my experience with Calvert so far, because my 4th grader at home is already working in Calvert because his school district started before us, so they're already in it. It is a very robust software. And what I mean by that is there are a ton of things in it for him to do every single day. And the biggest issue that we discovered, and we'll show you this as soon as we get it pulled up, is he would go through, and at the bottom of every page in Calvert is a big blue submit button. And you can go click that submit button anytime you want to, and you'll move to the next assignment. So he would read the whole thing, and then he would go down and click his big blue submit button, and he would think he was finished for the day. But what he didn't know, that we're going to show you and allow you a little sneak peek into, is that throughout that entire lesson that he was reading, there were constantly links that would ask him to go to certain sites and complete certain tasks that he wasn't doing because he thought he just had to read it. He was unaware that there were tasks involved with it as well. All right, bear with me. We're going to have to...
right, so all of your kids should have gotten an email from the system, but it's not going to say Calvert. It's going to say Edmentum. Edmentum is the parent company of Calvert. So this is what their login page will look like. And they'll come in and they'll put it.
It's not going to go on the camera, I'm afraid. So whenever they get to the login screen, it'll look just like this, but it will not say Calvert. That was the thing that I think is throwing people off. Not all of our students have their login information yet. Some of them do, but we are still waiting on several to be entered into the system. And then whenever they put in their username and password that is sent to them in the email, it will take them to their dashboard.
And this is my teacher dashboard, but I can click on a student and click log in, and this is what they will see.
So when they come in, this is called their dashboard, and it'll come in right to here, and it'll have each of their courses. So it's got their language arts, math, science, social studies. These are all of the core courses where they will find their lessons for the day. The most important piece that they find that helps them to pace themselves, though, is whenever we launch it, it takes them into their daily schedule. And it brings up basically a calendar of all the things that they are required to do that day. So it has exactly what they're expected to do in each specific subject. With the
Who gets this, everybody?
students do. This is what the students are going to be using for kindergarten through 5th grade.
Because I never got none of that.
So, right, that's what I'm saying. Not everybody has gotten their login information yet, so we're still waiting on a few kids to get put in. That's why we haven't started using this. So as soon as we know all of the students have their login information, we'll be transitioning to this.
And it will not go to your email. It will go to their Chester County student email. All right, so this is the first lesson.
So the first lesson for everything is pretty much the same. It is called Welcome to Calvert, and it walks them through specifically what they will be expected to do. It shows them where to find their resources, their textbooks, what kind of lessons they'll be doing, the things that will be expected of them as far as projects and learning curriculum is concerned.
And this has a lot of good information for you guys as parents as well, as to what their classes will look like.
So if we go back and we open up an actual lesson,
Let's see. All right.
so when we go through, it actually starts with like a warm-up activity that kind of gets them ready to learn. And it's like a before you begin kind of scenario. And that's with all of the subjects. It has that at the beginning. And anything that is underlined that has the blue, when they click on that, it opens up. And it is their text that they are required to read. So if it says read chapter 1 of, when they click the link, it brings it opens it up. And that is actually the textbook that they'll be using, or the story that they're reading, or whatever it is, depending on theirs. So it will tell them like read chapter 1, so they'll open the book up and they'll actually go through and do their reading from that.
And they can click on any of the chapters so that if they're further along in the lesson, they can go straight to that chapter.
So when they go into the text, the other feature is it does have an opportunity for those who need the extra help to have it read to them with stories and such.
So right here, if you click on the book, that's their books and materials for the week. But then if you click right beside it, it'll say read it aloud. And you can turn that on, and then every time you click, it'll start reading it to you.
So, and then the
the
stories that they open up where they read a chapter, it also has a feature to read to them. So it will, and it highlights the words that it is reading aloud.
So they can follow along.
So as we go down through it, though, it has other activities where it actually gets into the meat of the lesson, where it starts discussing different topics and what they are actually wanting the student to learn. So as the students go through that, it usually has different components. Like I know the ELA has the comprehension, it has the vocabulary, it has the reading portion, different graphic organizers that it uses. And it goes through in specific pieces so that they get the best knowledge they can from the part that they're using. So when they're doing things like grammar and working with commas, they take stuff directly from the story so that it all connects back together.
And then the lower grades have a lot of phonics activities. Then here's what Mr. Spencer was talking about.
Yes, this is the part Mr. Spencer was talking about. So there's activities all through the lesson that they're required, that they're expected to do, where it might have them do some journaling in their ELA journal, or it might have them working on practice questions for math. And then once they've gone through the entire lesson is where they're supposed to come down here and click to kind of show where they feel like they are. Did they learn it really well, or did they think they need some more work on it? And then they click submit. So if they don't click on the different underlined pieces for the workbooks, the textbooks, the practice that is assigned throughout the lesson, and they just come straight to the bottom and hit submit, they're going to miss actually learning the information because all of those components come together.
If
we go to, I was going to say turning in assignments, do we have access to show that? I don't think so.
in grade book.
Okay.
So also in their dashboard, this is what they will see when they log in. They have a grade book that shows them what their current grade is, and you can. Okay. So it also shows them their grade book from that dashboard, and you can go in and you can click View Details, and it will break down exactly what they scored on each project, when they completed it, and any feedback that the teacher will go in and give them or that the system will give them on said project. And you'll see some things are not graded. Those are usually like the rate your understanding or are you ready for this? Things that will be graded are projects and actual comprehension assignments and things like that. And then it has the teacher's information in case they have any questions. There's also a messages feature where they could send, it'll send it straight to their teacher.
I think that's about all unless we have like an actual student to log in, I think that's about the basics of everything. But the most important parts, like we said, was this is what they'll see when they log in. And then when they click on launch, it takes them to their daily calendar. So that's the big things. And from there, it's pretty easy to just follow. It will not let them advance to day 2 until, like if they're all working on math day 3, it won't let them move on to math day 4 until they have actually finished the assignment. So they can't just skip all around because that's what they prefer to do. They have to actually finish the day that they've been assigned.
And then once they finish the first 5 days, they can click the arrow and it'll go through and show them the next 5 days. And so on and so forth until they have completed all of the lessons or the school year is over.
Do we have any other questions about that? I mean, we haven't really started using it with our students, so we're not exactly experts, but we have kind of played around with it to know what we can. Okay.
Thank you very much. So at this time, I will ask, do we have any questions for me as the director of Virtual Academy? Yes, ma'am.
When you go into the teams, can you show me how you're supposed to do the assignments? Because my daughter hasn't turned in nothing all the last 2 weeks because we can't do nothing.
Absolutely.
And like when her teacher does the videos, it breaks up. You can't even understand what she says at all. And
Have you tried to, are you doing live sessions or video?
Both.
So on the videos, have you tried to download them before watching them?
I don't know how to do any of that.
Gotcha, I'll show you that as well.
And then one of them, like she's supposed to read a story, but then you click on it and you get an error every time, so you can't even bring the stories up.
Gotcha, if you ever encounter that issue,
I try emailing the teacher, she don't ever write back.
email me and I'll get you whatever you need. because we can usually pull a PDF option for the story, and I'll be able to send that to you. Sometimes we don't post those because they're long documents that'll take a while to download, but if I can turn it into a PDF, I'll send that to you. So going back into teams, Mr. Koo, do you mind if I use your team again, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go in the back door. All right, so for Mr. Coos, I'm going to go to, let's get creative. And I'm going to look at the student view. So my instructions are draw what you think a scientist looks like, or you can draw what you think a mathematician looks like. Write 3 sentences describing what you drew, and we will share with our friends on Tuesday. Mr. Coos, is this one already closed?
Yes, it is. It's September 20th.
Gotcha. Let me find one that's open.
See, my kids, we team teach, so my kids have Miss Stidham for math and science. So Miss Stidham goes into my channel, and she puts in her homework in there with mine all together like that.
Oh, see, hers is separate. She got math and English and then science and social studies with a different teacher.
Student view.
Which one should I do, sir?
It don't matter. Just you get storm along thoughts, words, and actions. That was yesterday's assignment.
So for this assignment, sir, how would you want them to turn it into?
Oh, well, this is the teacher view, so you really can't do it. But in the student view, there will be a little button in the bottom that says Add Work. You click on that little plus sign, and it'll tell you where you want to get the stuff from. Now,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, where is she supposed to do it at?
okay,
Gotcha.
so there's a new button right there at the top. It says New with a plus sign on there. You click on New, it'll bring up like 25 different apps.
Mr. Spencer, I'll have one.
And usually, I tell my kids to pull up Microsoft Word, which is the blue square with the W, and that allows you to write in it, allows you to paste pictures in it. You can do it, and then save it on your desktop, and then when you go to add work, go back to the desktop and grab it.